Hello guys, so in this video we are going to break down a very popular site that we've all used before, which is Freecodecamp, right? It's a really amazing platform, and their YouTube channel is also like super cool with how I've learned so much from Freecodecamp. Right now, in this website forensic series, right, what I aim to do is that I want us together to analyze most of the popular websites out there, and then try to get an idea of how they are built, right? Both on the front end and on the back end too as well. Okay, so we look at the layouts, try to picture what they are doing. Okay, try to inspect them, see, okay, do we understand what is going on here? Because it's very important as a developer, thinking through some of these existing websites. It really helps you with your creativity. It helps you in building websites on your own. For example, if you're a front-end developer and then the UI designer designs something for you, or a client gives you a sample design to work on, right? You need to be able to smart enough. You need to be able to be smart enough and intelligent enough to know how you can position things here and there. So this forensic series is can be really helpful to you, and it's very important. Okay, so let's just quickly walk through this website. See whether we can identify what is going on here. Okay, so over here is the navigation bar. It's a pretty simple navigation bar. So what do you think can be going on here, right? So how do you think they lay this out? My best guess is that this is probably Flexbox. And disclaimer, I have not actually analyzed this site before. This is just my first time doing it, so that this video is as real as possible, right? So I'm thinking it's Flexbox. So I'm going to inspect and see whether I can get an idea of what's going on, right? Yeah, so okay, so let's see whether so this is the nav. Okay, right, so we have position fixed. Okay, so let's see. So you realize that once we scroll, the navigation bar stays on top. It doesn't scroll together with the page. So I think that is what the position fix is doing over here. And we have the display flex, like I said. So the display flex with the justified content of space between. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because space between, it means you are saying that, hey, all the elements that are laid out on the horizontal axis, sort of split them equally across the horizontal row. Okay, so space them equally. So this is the Search 9000 tutorials is here, the Freecodecamp logo is here, and then the main menu sign in. I mean, that's a very basic setup with Flexbox. So I think that is cool. That is cool. And let's look at the buttons. So yeah, the buttons also look pretty simple. We have some hover effect over here, right? So I think once you hover, you have the cursor, and then the color changes. The color changes to yellow. Okay, so and then I think you see a border over here, right? So the border is like an orange border, and then once you hover, this changes to yellow. Okay, so I'm guessing the button has a color of maybe a background color of orange of sorts. Okay, and then once you hover on it, you get the new effect, right? So let's see. Yeah, so we have background color of FE. So this is the color code, right? FEAC32. Okay, and yeah, let me see. Sign up button, right? So let's click this. Okay, yeah. Okay, so they actually have some linear gradients on it. Okay, that's interesting. So they've labeled their class BTN CTA. So I think the BTN CTA stands for their main call to action. So it's like the main call to action button. So I'm sure that is the same class that is being used for the get started button, and anywhere you see this yellow button, right? So this is pretty neat, to be honest. Their button is also very unique. It's not so overboard. I like the fonts and everything that they use here. It's amazing. So this is the linear gradient. Okay, FECC4C. Okay. So yeah, okay, right. So that's what is giving the it's sort of like the top of the button is a bit more yellowish, and it gets a bit more orange as you come down to the bottom side of the button. Okay, and I think that is what is controlling this. Okay, so So let's see whether I can apply a hover style, right? So you see when we apply the hover, the color changes to this important. Okay, so that's why we've triggered that yellow thing. Okay, so you realize that it's something you already know. It's not something out of the blue, right? With how they've styled their site. Okay, now let's go on to the other portions of the page. Learn to code for free. Okay, so this is probably a simple div or something that has been centered on the page or something like that. But let's see what they use to mark this up. Okay, so this is an H1 tag, right? Big heading, and then we have another big heading. So the big heading class. Okay, so I think the big heading font width is 700, height is 100%, line height, margin bottom. Okay, so I think that's a class that they use to create this. Okay, all right, so I'm sure this is also like a paragraph or something, so let's inspect that. Yeah, like I said, this is a paragraph. Okay, and then they have special styling tool for it as well since 2014. Okay, so you realize that it's like really basic stuff that is going on here. It's nothing out of the blue. Okay, and then let's see these logos. Are they actual logos? Okay, so these logos are like the SVG versions of the logos of the logos of these companies, right? Now SVGs, they do not lose because of how SVGs are created. They do not lose quality across screens. If I view this site on a bigger screen or a more high resolution screen, I do not lose any quality, basically because of how SVGs are created. I'll probably create a video on SVG. Let me know in the comments if you want a video on SVGs. All right, so this looks good. So these are SVGs that have been laid out. Okay, I'm thinking this is also flexbox. It's probably in a container, a flex container of sorts. Definitely. Let's see, logo row. Yep. So you see the same concept. The logo row has a display of flex, and then there's the justified contents of space between. So it's sort of the same concept that has been used to create the navigation. That is what is also applied over here, which is pretty solid. Okay, then get started is free. I think it's using the same styles that we talked about. And this free code comes to a local. Okay, so this is like an image that was inserted over there, right? This definitely is like a div of sorts, right? With all the logos put inside. Okay, so this has 1 2 3 4 5 6. This is probably also flexbox. Right, maybe this is actually a div in a container with a width or something, or a defined width of sort. Yeah, okay, so we have the SM8. Okay, we have div class text center. Yeah, so I don't know whether Freecodecamp is using Bootstrap. I can't tell. Yeah, definitely Bootstrap. Like if you look at the classes, container fluid, container co SM8, co SMFC, co XS12. These are definitely Bootstrap classes. Okay, so wow, this is good because for you to use Bootstrap to build a site like this, and then it doesn't even look like you use Bootstrap. That is like really impressive. Okay, so they are using Bootstrap, so don't think Bootstrap is outdated, or don't always jump for the hype like Tailwind and all those things. Bootstrap is also really good. It's still very, very good. I still love Bootstrap. Okay, so this is also a container, right? This is definitely like a column. It could be a container, right? Considering the width that it occupies, it could be a container with columns inside it. Okay, so let me see. Testimonials. Let's make this let's see whether we can extend this to no, sorry, responsive. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's inspect this and see. So testimonial card. Okay, testimonials row. Okay, so there's an entire, so this is a container here. So it's like there's a container, and in the container there is a testimonials div, which is stretching to the ends of your container, right? And then there's the heading, and then there's the row. Okay, Yeah, so yeah, testimonial, and then there's a card. So this is a card. All right, so okay. All right, so in the card we have another div. I think that sort of holds the profile photo, right? And then we also have another card that sort of holds the content, the description of whoever is in the photo, right? So we have multiple cards. So we have 1, 2, 3. All right, let's see whether we can dive a bit deeper into how the cards are being created. So we have this card here. Okay, what are the styles here? WebKit, box, or horizontal. Okay, so WebKit, box, orient, horizontal. So you see, once you see something that is a bit new to you, CSS is always evolving, and you don't understand everything that's going on. Okay, so we can quickly jump into another tab and see whether we can find what is WebKit, box, orient. Okay, see what that is actually doing. Okay, so this is actually deprecated, right? So they're saying the feature is no longer recommended, though some browsers may still support it. It might have already been removed from the relevant web standards, may be in the process of being dropped. Okay, so that's web big. Okay, so box orient property sets whether an element lays out its content horizontally or vertically, right? So box orient property is specified as one of the keyword values listed below: horizontal, vertical, inline axis, block axis, right? Okay, so apparently this is even being deprecated. Okay, so Freecodecamp, there's a deprecated style on your website. Okay, but then it's still currently supported, right? And the flex direction is with row. Okay, so I think there is some flexbox stuff also going on over here. Display flex. All right, so once you use display flex is saying that, hey, by default it lays down all the element, or it lays down all the items in the flex container on a horizontal axis. Okay, so if display flex is applied to this card, then the image and then the footer star over here will be applied on a horizontal axis, okay, and shared out equally. All right, and then they've applied some margins on the card to separate one card from the next card, right? So if you see this orange thing around the when you're inspecting an element and you see this orange thing, that usually shows that that's the margin. Okay, so sometimes it helps you to debug what is going on. It helps you to debug your layout. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty cool. So flexbox going on all over this website. Okay, this I see another component here which looks very interesting. I like to see how this is being done. Okay, so yep, this definitely looks interesting. So, okay, so let's try and see the parent element. Okay, so we have a UL. Okay, so we have an unordered list. So all these components are in an unordered list, and each of the items here is a list item. It always amazes me the creative ways people use the very basics, right? So this is just like UL LI stuff. So we have an LI. So the entire container is an LI. All right. Let's look at the CSS on the UL. Okay, so padding inline start. Okay, so LI A. Okay, so let's see the A. Okay, so the A is right over there with the margin. Okay, all right. And in the A, what do we have? Okay, so they've wrapped a div with the A. Okay, so there's the A elements here, and I think okay, so they are using the A elements as a container element, right? So the A elements is the link BTN that is displaying as flex. Okay, and they are using the same justify content space between, just like we have in the navigation bar, right? So all the elements here are justify content space between, right? So let's click on the SVG. Okay, so this is an SVG, that is this small laptop screen size we see over here. Okay, with a height of 100%, a margin inline start of 5px. So we can look at what the margin inline start property stands for. Okay, we always learn something new. Margin inline start defines the logical inline start margin of an element, which maps to a physical margin depending on the element's writing mode. directionality and text orientation. So it corresponds to the margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left property, right? So margin inline start, okay, 20 pixels. Let's change this to 30 pixels and see. Okay, this is 300 pixels, 30 pixels, okay, 40 pixels, okay, 10 pixels, okay. Is it the same as the margin left? Let's see. Yeah, it's the same. I'm wondering what the difference between the margin left and then the margin inline start is. Okay, let's see whether we can remove that to margin inline start versus margin left. Okay, all right. Let's see what margin inline start is. So when using margin inline start in a horizontal left to right context, it acts just like margin left, as the starting edge of the element is the left side. Okay, so when by default, if your content is laid out left to right, then obviously the margin inline start will act the same as the margin left, right? But if, let's say, your content, the writing mode is vertical, for example, or vertical left to right, it means it sort of starts from the top. Okay, then margin inline start will sort of start at the top as well. Okay, this time around it won't start at the left. Okay, so it says over here, but if we change the writing mode to say vertical, the element is rotated clockwise, placing the starting edge toward the top. As a result, margin inline start behaves just like margin top. All right, so this is very interesting, right? But if you are to use margin left and then the element is rotated clockwise, then it means it will still be the margin will still be applied on the left side of the element. But since you are using margin inline start, this is a bit more dynamic, depending on the writing mode of the element. So this is like very interesting. Okay, so we have the SVG over here, and then yeah. Okay, so this also has like the margin inline starting, okay, which is very interesting. So basically all this components here are the same li components repeated multiple times, right? And then laid out like this. So you realize that as I'm going through this side, it's not anything scary going on here. Everything that was used to develop this site is like basic things that you have probably already met and worked with so many times. So the idea here is that keep practicing this, right? There are always basic things. Keep practicing it. Keep trying to analyze how these sites are built. Once you go deeper, you realize that, oh, well, it's really nothing scary going on here. And then that helps to build your confidence as well. Then in the last part of the website, we have the footer, right? So I mean, since they are using Bootstrap, then it's definitely like different columns. So like this is probably like a container fluid with 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, right? With some text over there and then with some links. So nothing major also going on over here, right? Okay, so this has been a website forensics for Freecodecamp. All right, so I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Keep learning, keep practicing, and then you become a master at it.